In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do ocean cells in resin using our two-part Geode Agate Tray mold. For this one, I'm using Pro Resin, and I did this pour in two different parts, a small test in the beginning, and then the balance of the pour later. I'm using two different colors of blue pigment paste and also white pigment paste for this pour, and I'm also using silicone oil. To find the amounts to mix into the resin, I basically took the little spatula, mixed the paste up, scraped off the edges, and then put that in the resin. And as you see here, I'm just using a toothpick to remove the excess paste to mix it all up in the resin. That's more than enough. I waited until the resin was about 32 degrees Celsius because it moves better at that rate. And I do have the two different colors of blue mixed up and the white. I also had some clear that I put on the bottom, which I change up later, but I started off the pour with clear on the bottom and then adding the colors. For this pour, I also put 2 drops of silicone oil into the colors. For the blues, I had 0.60 ounces of each blue with 2 drops of silicone oil, and 0.50 for the white with 2 drops of silicone oil, and just 0.40 for the clear. In the first part of this experiment, I did run out of the clear resin, but this whole thing got changed up so much. As you see here, I had clear on the bottom, I added some white and the darker blue color it looks like, and I'm just drawing in little lines, just random colors. I'm going to use a heat gun to move the colors here in a minute after I add some more white on the top. I've seen a lot of people do this in acrylic pours, and I've only seen one person do this in resin pours on paintings, but I wanted to try this technique in this mold because I figured it would give some great results. As you see, the heat gun is moving the resin around and it's creating cells. It's very cool to watch this happening. I added a little bit more white here and blew it around. For the second part of the pour, I mixed up 5 ounces of resin and did 1.3 ounces of each color, the white and the 2 blues, and I put 4 drops of silicone oil into that part. I also added 2 drops of silicone oil to the clear. I also ended up just putting some silicone oil in on itself. There was no rhyme or reason after a time to doing this. I ended up putting blue on the bottom here with some white on the top. My main goal was to get cells. Didn't think there was a right or wrong way to do it, just wanted to get the cells moving. And using the heat gun did move it around. From the top, I did it from the sides, and as you see in the rest of this part of the pouring, I just kind of go in to fill up the areas so they got up to the river ledge. And if it looked too pale, I added the dark blue. If it was too dark, I added more white. Just trying to get some cool cells. I thought I had it figured out at one point. If I dripped it in thinner, it was better. If I used white on the bottom, it was better. But there really was no rhyme or reason for this working correctly. It was fun to do the whole pour, though. The great thing about our Geode Agate two-part tray mold is it's a top-up pour, so you're seeing exactly what you're going to get. So you can finesse it, add things, subtract things, make a mess of things. You're not waiting to turn it over and demold it. You can see what's going on as it's happening. I'll be quiet for a little bit here and just let you watch the cells form as I keep pouring and pouring them. My favorite little island area is the one on the left so far. I'm trying to recreate that in another pocket area, island area. Now I'm just going in to finish off the pockets that are still empty. Adding a little bit more whites and blues. After the resin has had time to set up and cure, it's time to remove the river part of the mold. I wanted to be careful here so as not to lift up any of the island parts, although I was unsuccessful with that and a few popped up anyway. You have to just be careful sometimes removing this so you don't pop up the pieces. I think that looks really cool. I end up using a pipette to put some resin in the bottom to kind of seal everything together so the little island areas didn't move. Originally, I wanted to use sand in the river areas, but when I did a test with the sand and the resin, it was really too mucky looking. So my idea was I grabbed some clear quartz crystals. We have size 0, and I dyed them a light brown using some resin ink. I also threw in some gold glitter, glass glitter, and some ultrafine holographic glitter as well. I'm just pouring the quartz crystals into the river areas and using a little paintbrush to brush it off the islands. I could have done this all at the end, but I just decided to move forward with it. I did want it filled up all the way to the edges of the island area, so I just keep scooping in the crystals and cleaning up as I go along. There's the quartz crystals dyed a little bit brown, and there's the glass glitter. Got that at Michael's. And then some ultra fine glitter. Crystal diamond extra fine glitter, in fact. Once that's in there, I use DecoArt gloss varnish to seal the quartz crystals. I like doing this rather than resin, and I use this in a lot of my projects because it will glue the crystals down but doesn't submerge them as resin does. Once everything gets under resin, it just is sunk and there doesn't seem to be a lot of clarity. Using this gloss varnish, not the satin varnish, that doesn't work. The gloss varnish actually glues the crystals together. It looks a little bit blue going on, but it does dry clear. So I'm just filling up all the river areas with a pipette. Here I'm just adding a little bit more of the glitter because the glitter was tending to sink to the bottom. And cleaning off the islands as I go. Now it's time for the top coat. I used 7 ounces of Magic Resin tabletop resin and just poured onto the top of the mold. I did have to babysit it a little bit to watch for bubbles. But you can see the sand / quartz crystal glistening through the blue tidal pools. Now it's time to demold. We already know what it looks like since this is a top-up pour, but I was curious as to how the bond would look because we used the heat gun. Wow, the bottom looks cool as well, and I was tempted to use that, but I kept the top. Kevin finished this piece for me by painting the sides and bottom silver and adding 4 wooden feet. I think this experimental pour turned out great. Let us know what you think in the comments below.